Welcome to Creekside Chats with successful multifamily real estate investors. Dr. Allen chats with successful investors exploring their journey from setback to triumph. Through this window, we glimpse the truths that inspire our guests to invest abundantly and flourish in all areas of life. And now your host, Dr. Allen.
Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you for tuning in to Creekside Chats. I'm your host, Dr. Allen. Today's guest began his commercial real estate career in 2008. To date, he has sold over 1 million of investment properties in more than 15 states. As head of acquisitions at Promanas, a private equity firm, he helped to grow the firm's holdings to over 250 million. He is passionate about hunting, fishing, and the mountains. Please welcome Drew Pearson. So first of all, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how it is that you got into commercial investing?
Sure. I was born and raised in Shreveport, kind of a medium-sized southern town in Louisiana. I went to LSU and I was an intern for a developer. And this was about 2006 or so, 2007. Real estate was booming. This guy was from my hometown. He kind of seemed a guy kind of like me. I could kind of see myself growing up to be like this guy. And sharp guy, but it didn't seem like he had any additional skills that maybe I didn't have if I worked hard. And so he was kind enough to kind of show me the ropes. And it just seemed like fun. I enjoy relationships. I enjoy doing deals and trying to think of things creatively. And I think real estate kind of lends itself to a lot of those different avenues.
That's an interesting beginning there to your career. Can you share with us what you would consider to be one of your greatest achievements in life?
Well, that's certainly a big question.
I'm sure you've had many.
Well, I guess I'm certainly proud of my wife and our 3 children. I think from a those are kind of personal achievements.
Mm-hmm.
But from a business side, I think learning the ropes of a career, I'm pretty proud of that. I've got some very low personal debt, and then I'm on track to help build a real estate company, and so I'm certainly proud of that. I'm not content with where we are today, but I think as we look 5 and 10 years out, I can get excited about the trajectory. If we do the simple things right every day, the scoreboard will take care of itself.
Mm-hmm. So this may relate to what you consider your greatest achievement, but what in your life brings you your greatest sense of purpose and meaning?
That's a great question. Again, I'm a relatively new father. I have a 4-year-old, an 18-month-old, and a brand new baby girl who's 8
Mm-hmm.
weeks old. So that's certainly changed a lot of my world. To see them smile and light up, it's pretty incredible. But outside of my family stuff, which is extremely important, but we all have to have a career and try to provide for our family.
Right.
Kind of working through this interesting time right now, kind of with the coronavirus and everything. It's actually kind of fueled me and gotten me excited every day. We are working through all of our tenant relationships right now, doing our best to help them through rent reductions, rent abatement. What can we kind of do to help keep them on their feet? Talking with investors, kind of being the captain of the ship. And even though we're headed towards some choppy waters, I'm confident we can guide that ship to smoother waters here in 2 or 3 months, and maybe even have a stronger, more stabilized property and stronger relationships on the other side of this.
Mm-hmm. I find that in working with a lot of investors that, in fact, the most important things in their life are really not the money, not the investments, but it is those personal things in life that actually bring them meaning. And those investment endeavors and the wealth building are just really to enhance those things that really matter to
Sure.
people in their lives. I think that's a lot of people who have not gained that kind of wealth often have the misperception that people are just out after money. But I find that that's generally, for most people, that just really is generally not the case.
I would agree with that.
But you certainly had some a lot of achievements, and you've done a lot in your 35 years. But I know that for all of us, that there are disappointments in life, and all of us have experienced different setbacks and disappointments. And so, if you could just for a moment, could you give some consideration to some of those disappointments, and maybe share with us what one of your biggest disappointments in life has been?
Well, I think trials are important, and overcoming adversity is extremely important. It's something that I don't know if you can manufacture that, but I'd love to try to manufacture some adversity for my kids, just because it's such a great skill to build confidence, And I kind of think back to professional adversity. I graduated in 2008. We had a new president come in. The stock market was in the tank. A lot of investors had a lot of fears regarding a Democratic president. In essence, the commercial real estate world just turned the faucets off. I mean, there was nothing going on for 18 to 24 months, at least where I was. And I'm 22. No one knows who I am or cares who I am. I think I made $9,961 my first year in the business, and 5,000 of that came in month 10. So the first, 10 months, I worked for $4,000, showing up 40, 50 hours a week,
Yeah.
And so those were tough, not knowing that, is this the right path? Surely this is going to get better. How do I fit into all this? And so I lean on that from time to time, and especially in the last 2 years as my business has grown. When I started, Pearson Partners, we went from brokerage to ownership and management, and then you're kind of ending one business line and starting another, and so you kind of have to cross that chasm. And I've looked back on those early days to say, well, look, we did this already. We can do it again. I read a fair amount. One of my favorite books is Good to Great by Jim Collins. Have you read that before?
I have not.
Oh, it's fantastic. But there's a couple of great chapters in there. One is the hedgehog concept, which is a great concept. But the other is the Stockdale paradox. Admiral Jim Stockdale was shot down in Vietnam. He was a prisoner of war for 7 years in the Hanoi Hilton, tortured for 7 years. And people asked him, well, how did you survive this? He's the highest ranking American in the Hanoi Hilton. And he said, it was the optimists and the pessimists. They were the first to go. Because if you were too confident it was going to get better and didn't get better, it would crush you. If you thought you wouldn't get out, you would just give up. But it was the guys who faced reality every day and took it one day at a time with the long term, knowing that it's going to get better in the long term, but short term, we may have some heartache and some pain. Those were the guys who made it out. And, I just think there's a lot of weight to that as an American hero, and there's a lot of truth to it,
Mm-hmm. Well, 2008 was a tough time for everybody. It certainly would have been a tough time to graduate from college and then immediately go out into the work world and try to begin a career. So thinking back on those times, what were some of the personal attributes, personal skills that you actually had to call upon and to put into place to make it through those very difficult times?
I think it's kind of like, it's a lot like sports and anything else. I think it's just trying to get better 1% every day, and you're not going to have a big win tomorrow. But it's if you do the little things right every day, I think that amounts up to something, and you get these breakthroughs. You know, I'm a big fan of John Wooden, you know, the guy who won 10 national championships in 12 years at UCLA. Just an incredible, humble man, a man of God. And he'll tell you he wasn't any smarter than anybody else, but he put it all together, and he did the small things right every day. And that's what I think is the key, you know, just trying to manage your mental state through the peaks and the valleys, and just knowing that it's one day at a time. It's the next, if you're in sales, it's the next cold call. If you're a surgeon, then maybe it's the next surgery, you know, just kind of getting through residency or whatever path that you're on.
Can you, in thinking back on those times, could you think specifically through a particular day that was particularly difficult, and think what it was that helped you to get through that particular day? What are the specific aspects of that really, really bad day?
Yeah, sure. I think it was kind of sometime in the spring of my first year. Just kind of had been a tough day, tough week, tough couple of months. And I just talked to my brother there's a little lake in Baton Rouge, and we just kind of chit chatted. And I think just having a strong support system, whether it's friends or family, just to kind of pick you up and say, hey man, you know, it's going to get better. You're a great guy. You do have some skill sets, and just keep with it, you know? And it's kind of that basic. And it's kind of like if you're a quarterback and you throw an interception, you just got to forget about it and move on to the next play. You know.
So moment to moment, I guess, is what I'm hearing you say, and stay connected with the moment and not get lost in thinking about how bad it is or could be in the future.
Sure. Yeah, you just kind of, it's the Stockdale paradox, you know, taking the next challenges as it comes, and, you know, don't work yourself up mentally like, well, what if this happens, if that happens, you know, you just kind of, you keep plugging away, keep moving forward. And oddly enough, things work out more times than not, you know.
So this is pretty hypothetical, but I want you to think about this. And I think probably a lot of people are wondering about this, even with the coronavirus and the shutdown of the economy. But hypothetically, what would happen if just overnight your wealth was totally and completely wiped out, and due to the embarrassment and humiliation, your friends and family all turned their backs on you, and you were just left with essentially nothing but yourself? How would you how would you cope with a situation like that?
Well, you know, I'm a Christian, I'm a man of God. And so the first person I would turn to is God through this. I think that I know that my family wouldn't turn their back on me unless I was running maybe a Ponzi scheme. You know, they don't love me because of the money I make or don't make. So I would still have that support. And then I would just turn around and because of the principles of real estate that I believe in, if things were that bad, I'll try to be that bad for other people, and we'd go on the hunt for more opportunities. And I would reevaluate the mistakes that I did make. We'd do our best to fix those and see were they reoccurring, or were they just these one-off random pandemic, you know, things that black swan events we can't prepare for. And then we'd go out and rebuild trust, find new properties, and start it over again. You know, I believe that real estate's they're not making any more of it. We all need it in some form or fashion, and that's what I enjoy. You know.
Great. So turning back to the positive, what brings you your greatest joy in life?
You know, again, I think I find a lot of joy in my family, and it's been nice to spend the last couple of weeks with my family, more so than probably I have in a little while. You know, we're all cooped up in the house together, and we got a pool and swimming in the back and working in the yard. And then, I love the outdoors. I love the mountains. And so that's kind of my happy place, is out west in the Rockies and being in God's creation.
Right. I actually grew up in the Rockies in southwestern Colorado. Yeah.
Whereabouts over there?
In Durango.
It's a great spot. I've been fishing in Pagosa and all over there, Cimarron and Mexico. And it's a great spot.
Yeah, I like the Southwest. I currently live in North Carolina, but I live in Appalachia in the mountains. So still have the mountains. They're different though than the Rockies, to be sure.
A little bit different.
Yeah. So I think that's interesting that that your greatest joys are not from those fantastic achievements, particularly in business, but those joys are personal joys. So how is it that you celebrate those joys?
I don't know. I don't know. We're fairly busy just because we have a young family. And so we could probably do a little better at celebrating some of those things. It's just, it's a little wild in my house.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah, with little children and little toddlers, and certainly with an infant there's not much time for that personal time. But that's it's important to take that and to celebrate those joys.
We just try to enjoy the moments and enjoy the smiles, and then just soak it all up.
Soak it all up. So what do you use to grow emotionally and psychologically and spiritually?
I do have a business coach that I've enjoyed working with the last 6 months or so. And so, he's been great at just kind of helping us strategize and grow and deal with conversations that maybe just kind of giving me some pause. Again, I'm a big believer in reading. I'm a big Charlie Munger fan, Ben Franklin fan. I do read a little, stoicism, a little philosophy mixed in there. And I like reading about people who've kind of gone to accomplish big things.
So inspirational things. And then also you mentioned the fact of a mentor, and so relationships, I think, are important.
Absolutely.
To helping us to grow and to develop. So how is it that you, all successful people have to focus and shut out all of the treats and the toys and everything that are out there are constantly distracting us. How is it that you find your focus?
I'm not a big social media person. I don't do the whole Facebook and Instagram and all that other kind of stuff. So that kind of helps me. Again, I try to block out a couple hours a day to read. I think that's important. Right now, my schedule's changed a little bit. I was up at 4:30 this morning, so I could work for kind of 2 hours in quiet. So, again,
did you intentionally wake up?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was going to try to get about 5:30, but I had a kid who was crying, so 4:30 it was.
So 4:30 it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So quiet times, intentionally setting aside time to focus are techniques that you utilize for that. So how do you select your priorities?
We kind of have some goals for the year, what we want to accomplish on the business side. And, a lot of that's through acquisition of new properties. And so it's a fairly simple process. It's kind of prospecting and making cold calls until you find the property. Once you locate the property, it's under contract. We have about a 30 to 40 point checklist that everything needs to be detailed and accounted for. And so that becomes a priority at that point, and it becomes very simple. And then once that's accomplished in 10 days, we start going through the financing checklist, which is about a 10-point checklist, and then raising capital simultaneously. So, my days are it's kind of like a walk, and then a sprint, depending on where we are in the month, in the process. Yeah. So I think it's just about preparing yourself for the sprint, and some days it doesn't feel like you're moving the needle or getting better, but you are reading, you're following your plan, you're prospecting, you're communicating with investors and tenants. And so that is the job.
So how do you measure your success?
That's a good question. I don't know. There's always this fine line that you balance of contentment and complacency. And I don't think I've quite balanced that out yet. If you're a sports fan, you know who Tom Brady is. And the guy he doesn't do it for the money. He's won 5 or 6 Super Bowls. I don't even know how many it is. But I've always admired that because he's still grinding and still working hard. And you got to balance that with your own personal needs. You can't throw everything away, in chase of career-driven goals. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Good answer.
I haven't figured out the answer. That's the answer. I haven't figured that out yet.
I think I think we're all on that journey, and I think that we're always moving that goalpost. But at the same time, I think it's important to also celebrate when we meet those milestones. And I think a lot of times we forget to do that. We meet a milestone, and then we've already set the next one out there, and we forget that this is time to celebrate. And I think we need to have more celebration in our lives.
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
Yeah. So we're coming to the end of our time here. I have one last question here for you, and that is, what epitaph do you want to have on your tombstone?
That's a good question. The first thing that jumps in my head is something to the lines of, this was a man in the arena, which is kind of pulls from the famous Teddy Roosevelt quote of the man in the arena. It's not the ones who doubt and cast criticism. It's the man who, whether in defeat or in success, knows what it's like to taste his own sweat and blood and be in the arena. And I butchered that quote. I'm paraphrasing it.
It's close enough.
Yeah. But, I think just to be a man of action and to follow your dreams and take the risk.
Well, it sounds like you certainly are living the life that you will be proud to have lived by the time that you reach that point, which we all are going to be there someday.
It's unavoidable, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So, Drew, can you share with our listeners how it is that they can get in touch with you?
Sure, yeah. Feel free to just shoot me an email. It's Drew at PearsonPartnersPE.com, DREW@PearsonPartnersPE, like PaulEdward.com.
Okay.
Be happy to chit chat about real estate or books that you like to read, or if you like to hunt or fish or anything else.
Well, sounds great, Drew. It has been a pleasure visiting with you today, and I wish you all the great success in the world. Is there any last words you have for our guests?
I think that's it. I would just encourage. Well, I guess here's what I'd like to say and encourage is, I've got whatever odd group of talents that I may or may not have, but everybody has these own talents, and I think it's our job to find these talents and to utilize them to the best of our ability, regardless of your grades in school or regardless of what your past are. We all have greatness inside of us, and take the risk, take the action, and go for it.
Very good. Appreciate it. Thank you, Drew.
All right. Thank you, Alan. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Secrets of Successful Multifamily Investors, brought to you by Steed Talker Capital. Steed Talker Capital works with investors nationwide, creating opportunities to flourish abundantly in all areas of life. As part of our efforts to help make the world a better place, Steed Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steed Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to enhance your well-being through mindful, multifamily real estate investment, connect with us online at worldwideweb.capital.steedtalker.com.